Okay, so I'm Caitlin and I am here to explain to you a little bit about testing your blood sugar levels for diabetes. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Mary McDonald, Medical Device Manager at Cait General Hospital.
I'm Tommy McCauley, Key Account Manager at RS Components.
I'm Aaron Cherry, a Mechanical Engineer at Aircraft Research Association.
Okay, so a lot of you might work with diabetic people, so it's a good way to understand how they would test their blood sugars if they became unwell or if maybe they're poorly or whatever. So what do you know about diabetes? Is there anything in particular that you know?
I know the difference between a hypo and a hyper.
Right, which would be?
Hypo would be low blood sugars,
Yeah.
and hyper would be high blood sugars.
Okay. Do you know anything about diabetes or?
I know there's two types, type 1
Yeah.
and type 2 diabetes.
Right, okay. What about testing your blood sugar levels? When would a diabetic need to test them?
Very regularly.
So,
doesn't matter when, does it?
well, for example, would it be before you drive a car? After you've played sport?
Well, before all of them.
Yeah. So as a diabetic, you would have to check them on a regular basis to make sure that your levels are stable enough.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So you don't put yourself or anyone else in danger.
In danger, right, exactly. So, is there anything you don't know about diabetes that you would like to know?
I don't know what it feels like to have it.
No.
But I can,
Do you work with anyone with diabetes at all?
No, my mother had diabetes.
Yeah. And obviously I have diabetes.
Yes.
So you know bits through that. So when there are different ways of testing your blood sugar levels. So you've got your test strips, which are these. You every 6 months to a year you have your annual blood test, which gives you the HbA1c, which is the last 3 months of your blood sugar levels. We have the new Libras, which you can scan with your phone. You get an app, or you can use this machine here, which that tells you it's a bit better. You don't have to prick your fingers or anything like that. Do you know what can happen if you don't look after your blood sugar levels? Any symptoms that a diabetic could have, or
You could become
Damaged organs.
yeah.
Yeah, long-term damaged organs. When you're actually taking a hyper
Mhm.
or hypo, you can appear to be drunk
Yes.
or very hyperactive.
Yeah.
You
Or,
can go into a coma.
Yeah.
It can affect your eyes and your peripheral, your fingers, your feet, if you don't have satisfactory blood sugars.
So what would you do if, for example, your blood sugars were low? And what would you class as low?
Whatever gives you symptoms.
Right.
So normally it's under 4,
Right, okay, yeah.
but it's the symptoms that could be different. The level could be different from every person experiencing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, depending on height and weight and...
Yes, yeah.
So, for example, if somebody had a low blood sugar level, what would you give them?
Sugary drink, well, fresh orange, something like that.
Yeah.
Or Coke, full Coke.
Yeah.
any
I think liquid's better.
Fast acting sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think liquid's better because it gets absorbed quicker.
And it's easier to intake as well,
Yeah.
I'd say. What would you do in regards to carbohydrates? Would you make them a sandwich, or would you give them a banana to like withhold it?
Toast.
Toast, yeah.
Slow release carbohydrates.
Yeah, to keep them level. So,
Balance it out.
yeah, to balance it out. So, if your blood sugar levels were high, what would you class as high?
Again, would it be the symptoms that you're experiencing?
Yeah, so symptoms would be...
Aggravated.
Yes, irritable.
Yeah.
Clammy.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Sweating.
Sweating, yeah.
Would you have a sort of metallic taste in your mouth, or would that be a hypo?
Both,
Both.
either or, yeah.
Yeah.
It can differ depending. So generally, for a person without diabetes, they say your blood sugar level should be between roughly around 5 and 7 or 5 and 8. People without diabetes can suffer from hypoglycemia, so their blood sugar levels dip, but that's generally after exercise or shock.
Yeah, I was going to say stress.
Yeah, you find if people go into shock, their blood sugar levels can dip.
That's why they give a
happens,
sugary
isn't
cup.
it?
Yeah, so
That's why they give a sugary cup of tea.
yeah, and
Glucose tube.
yeah, glucogel. Yeah, that's quite a good thing to have. But if, for example, if your blood sugar was high, what are ways you could bring it down?
Exercise.
Yeah.
If it's not insulin, exercise.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Insulin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
drinking water can help.
All right. Yeah.
But what sort of level would you say is high? High enough to cause problems as such?
If it's continuously running over 10.
Yeah, probably. That's when, if it's recurring
Yeah.
high blood sugar levels, that's when the issues start with obviously things to do with your eyes, your organs, your feet.
Yes.
But would you say type 1 is worse than type 2? Because obviously you said, Aaron, that there are 2 different types.
Yes.
So type 1, what would that be?
So I understand type 1 as you have a non-function pancreas.
Yes.
Type 2 is normally from bad diet,
Hmm.
and that can be reversed this day and age,
Yeah.
but that is under control with certain medicines
Yeah.
that you can
Or
take.
diet, or just diet.
Yeah. So would you say that having type 1 would be worse than type 2, or would you say...
Type 1 would be worse than type 2,
Yeah,
I feel.
your body would be affected a lot worse if you were type 1 and didn't look after yourself properly,
Yeah.
whereas if you were type 2 and you didn't look after, you still got a little bit of,
Yeah.
your pancreas is still alternating your insulin levels,
A little bit,
but
yeah.
not
Yeah.
to the extent where type 1 you don't have a function.
No, yeah, exactly. So with type 2, there's a lot of, you can do it by diet or taking metformin tablets. I know there's others, but I'm not sure what they would be. But they don't always deal with their diabetes by checking their blood sugar, because in a lot of cases with type 2 diabetes, as far as I'm aware, they're not always given a blood glucose checker. I think they would be tested more often by the doctor, because the difference in their blood sugar levels isn't as extensive as it would be as a type 1. So having to, obviously with type 1 diabetes, you can do 2 injections a day, you can have a pump, you can do 4 injections a day, which is what I do. So it's each time you eat, and then your overall 24-hour insulin, which I would do at night, but you still always have to make sure that you're checking what it is you're eating. It's all like carb controlled and things like that. But a lot of people don't understand, they wouldn't understand the reasoning of checking your blood sugar levels, because the amount of things that can affect it is
Hormonal.
Hormonal, alcohol,
Eating.
eating, not eating.
I mean, like, if you accidentally decided you wanted another bit of cake.
Yeah, you'd have to adjust your insulin levels to be able to rectify because you would have a rise unless your blood sugar was already sort of low. But there's not really, I don't know, I think there needs to be a lot more awareness. But would you know a lot in your job? Would you be able to help someone? Would you be able to identify if they had a low blood sugar episode?
Yes.
Would you be able to, do you think? As an assumption?
Yes.
Would you?
Yeah, I think I would.
I'm first aid trained,
Oh, right, okay.
so I have a general understanding.
So did you, as a first aid trained person, were you taught much about this? About diabetes?
Not to the extent of checking someone's blood sugar level. In first aid instances, basically just looking after the patient.
Yeah. So
So if someone's blood sugar level is low and acting up, and you know that person has
diabetes, yeah.
and you can work out yourself what you need to do.
So would you say, for example, if you were looking after a team of people, would you want to be aware of any disabilities they may have? So any disabilities, epilepsy, diabetes.
Everyone needs to be aware, especially as my position being a team leader.
Yeah.
You need to be aware to look after.
So do you think it would warrant being trained on how to test blood sugar levels as a team leader? So if there was ever an instance where someone, if their blood sugar level went low, you would know where their things were, so their equipment was, and you could...
Well, not you could have a first aid kit could have
that in it.
Yeah. Blood glucose checker.
But obviously you know the basics anyway, so you'd be okay to...
Yeah, I was going to say, if I wasn't aware somebody had diabetes and they collapsed, I could confuse that with something else, with fainting or...
Yeah.
Even if you did know, even if you did know,
yeah.
And you were quite well trained in first aid and stuff, if someone fainted, it could be anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why people, when they start a role, they should make their employers and people around them aware of what disabilities they may have.
Yeah, I have a diabetic gentleman working in the department.
Yeah, so if he had a funny turn, you'd know the first thing to do would be to call down a nurse or a doctor or whatever, or you can test him.
Yes.
And
and in the very hot spell we've just had, I was more aware of how it would affect him.
Yeah.
So I was a lot...
Because that's another thing, heat.
Yeah.
Heat,
Yeah,
temperature can affect your blood sugar levels.
Mm.
So I had to make sure that he was fine. I did check on him,
So I'll show you how to use this. This is one of the main sort of types of diabetic equipment that you'll get, especially if you're newly diagnosed. And it's basically just a blood tester. So let's make sure it's going to work. So you just basically prick the tip of your finger.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a lot of blood on this one. And put the blood obviously onto the end. And it will bring up your blood sugar level.
Good.
So mine's is 6.1, which is what it should be. But if for example I'd been to the gym, that could be maybe 2 or 3. Or if I'd been on a long walk or it was a really hot day.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the other side of that, it could be really high if I've just eaten. So if I'd have just had my dinner, it could be around 12 or 14.
Mm-hmm. And then you give yourself some insulin.
Yeah. So I have these little sheets. These are basically, they're just like an outline of how you would test your blood sugar level, which I think businesses should... This is just a very basic idea, but I do think people should be given this. Because it's very simple. Once you know what you're doing, it's very simple to do. There's nothing special about it.
Yeah.
It should, I think personally, it should be part of overall first aid. Yeah, it should be something that's used.
Obviously, I can understand one of the problems thinking at first is having to touch other people's blood. But if you as a person would put gloves on, obviously before doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
To avoid any contamination.
Yeah, and that's it. It's obviously when you're doing first aid, you always put gloves on and whatever else. But it's just about, hopefully, if it ever came to it, the person would be able to do it themselves, and if not, an ambulance would be phoned. But it's just on the off chance if ever you had to.
Well, these things happen, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. But not everybody would know. Not everybody understands how to test blood sugar levels and things like that. Would anybody like to have a go?
I would.
Would you?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Right,
Just
so,
wash your hands.
I have washed them.
yeah, they do
I've
say
only
that.
picked my cup up.
So if you open that,
I touched it, is it okay to
yeah,
touch
yeah,
it?
it'll be fine. Don't worry. If you just pop that in there, make sure the bit comes up. So we'll see what Mary's is.
It's fine not to touch it.
No, it's fine. Let me smudge. Right. So now, prick your finger. So it's interesting to see. So if you just put it on the tip of your finger and press the button, there should be a button there. Yeah, that would be fine. Have you got the button? No, not the top. See, you've got a button there.
Alright.
It's interesting to see that.
Oh, sorry. I was a little bit sore.
Well, that if you've got to do that 4 times a day,
Yeah.
you get used to it.
Yeah.
It's different. It's interesting to see how everyone's changes.
I like the little butterfly. 6.4.
6.4.
Excellent.
So yours is similar to mine. So obviously you haven't had.
Tissue.
Have you had anything to? When was the last time you ate? I'd say.
About 20 minutes ago, had a packet of crisps.
Which is slow acting carb. So
Yeah.
your insulins.
I had a banana about 3:30.
Which is a good fast acting.
Yeah.
So that might, if you did that, that might spike your blood sugar levels.
Yeah.
Because it's. Do you want a shot?
Yeah.
Right, let's have a look. This is my new one. Have you pulled it out? So, the end of that pen. That's it.
Pull that out. It's like sort of like a trigger, and then you put that on your skin.
Yeah.
and then
Press the
press
button.
the button.
So, which side's that?
We'll end up at
So you put the stripe at the end.
Barcode.
Yeah, put the barcode in at the end. Just make sure something comes up there.
Yeah.
Has it got the little finger on it? Yeah. So you can prick your finger and put the blood in. See if it works for Tommy, because he might have. Is anything coming out? Not much.